To be chair.
Me? Oh my God, I can't do this. I'm taking out my notes.
You don't have to do the minutes later.
Motion to call the meeting to order?
So moved.
I think that's what we do. Second? Second? Anyone? Second? There's only three of us here.
I'll second.
Okay, I guess let's take a look at the minutes from last meeting. I wasn't at the last meeting, so I can't comment on whether they are accurate or not.
Unfortunately, nor was I.
Okay, then we're down to one. We might want to put that on hold, I guess, if there's only. Sarah, were you here at the last meeting?
I was at the last meeting, yes.
Okay, so hopefully we can get somebody else to hop on to confirm or deny the accuracy of said minutes.
Okay.
Liz, should we move on to the first referral?
Sure. Referral.
What's that?
The one referral.
The one referral.
Yeah.
Oh, for some reason I have, maybe I opened the wrong link.
Huh?
Maybe I opened the wrong link. I have something at 2444 Boston Post Road. Is that the previous meeting?
Yeah, this one's just the Bonnie Breyer. This is just the cell tower.
Oh,
okay. I think, right? Cool. It's still just the cell tower?
I opened the wrong link. I started analyzing 2444 and Cornell Road. I guess that's last week. Okay.
Did I get everybody? The little windows hiding things. There's one more.
Looks like one of those old hair commercials with, I told one friend and I told two friends, they told two friends, our screen keeps getting bigger and bigger.
I just promoted everybody so everybody could talk and share screens and all those things we all do.
So Liz, I was listening a little bit. So you don't have a quorum right now?
That's correct. We do not, as of the set moment, have a quorum.
One more member that told me that he was going to be joining at 8 o'clock.
Okay, so we should have a quorum in a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we can begin the presentation, and then as he comes in, fill him up.
Okay, I think that's a good idea.
Sounds good.
I'm just waiting for some of my panelists, but again, for the record, my name is David Kenny. I'm an attorney with Snyder & Snyder. I'm representing the applicant, Homeland Towers and Verizon Wireless. The application is to construct a cell tower at the Bonnie Breyer Golf Course. The cell tower is going to be a 120-foot tall monopole designed to resemble a tree, which is called a monopine. It'll be 125 feet to the top of the branches. That top additional 5 feet is to soften the visibility of the facility. We have submitted an application to the Town of Mamaroneck Planning Board. And as the LWRP dictates, the entire town is within the coastal zone. So any application to any board in the Town of Mamaroneck requires a referral to the Coastal Zone Management Commission. So we've come before this board for a referral to the Planning Board and to present the application to you. Matt Allen is the actual visual expert. So one of the application items we put together is a visual resource assessment. That'll give photo simulations and a view of the facility from various locations around the town. I think that'll be the best way to kind of introduce the facility about what it will look like. So I'm going to share my screen now. So here is a Viewshed Map, and Matt, if you could just speak to the process that was done to put together the visual resource assessment, and I'll show various areas and various parts of the report as you'd like.
Sure, David, thank you. I'm Matt Allen with Saratoga Associates. I'm a landscape architect, and I was retained by Homeland Towers to provide the visual impact assessment for this project. We did a standard visual impact assessment, which has a fair amount of detail in it. What David is showing on his screen right now is the Viewshed Map, and very simply, the areas in purple is where you would expect to see the top of the tower if you were standing in that area. This considers both landform and vegetation. So of course, there's going to be some areas with leaves off the trees that you might be able to see through the branching of the trees, But in general, the areas in purple are where you would expect to have an unobstructed line of sight to the top of the tower. The different color dots that you see on that map indicate areas that we went out in the field and photographed. The red dots are areas where we did not find visibility. The orange dots are where we found visibility through the trees. We were out there, I think, in March, so there were no leaves on the trees, so you could see through the trees. And I think there's 1 or 2 green dots on here, which are areas that we found were unobstructed. They don't perfectly align with the Viewshed Map, but the Viewshed Map really is a first step, and it's a predictive guide to tell us where we should go to look. I should mention, when we were out in the field, we flew a balloon that was our target. So it gave us a very good sense of whether the viewshed is accurate and whether there's a line of sight to the top of the tower. The balloon was flown to the height of the tower. It was a very calm day. The balloon was stable and was a good, solid representation. The image that David's showing right now, viewpoint 8, is on Weaver Street, directly in front of the Sheldrake Environmental Center. So that's Weaver Street, about as close to the tower as Weaver Street gets. And you can see, even with the leaves off the trees, there's a substantial amount of vegetation in the middle. So you get a sense of what the Viewshed Map really means. One might conclude, looking at viewpoint 13, that even if you can see the balloon, which you could, the trees will actually provide a very substantial visual buffer. So it's a matter of interpretation as to whether, if you can see a tower through those trees, whether that's a visual impact or not. We're simply reporting whether the visibility exists. With those photographs and the balloon in the photographs, we then did photo simulations of what the tower would look like from those locations. And as David mentioned, the tower is a proposed monopine, which is a stealth pine tree style tower. It's not meant to perfectly replicate a tree, but it is meant to minimize the visual contrast of the telecommunication structure with the intervening landscape. So the green branches that have a pine tree type shape to them lessen the verticality of a typical galvanized telecommunications tower. So it blends better with texture and color with the natural environment. So it's not it's not meant to be a tree, but it's meant to minimize the contrast. And I'll leave it there, unless, Dave, you think I missed anything significant.
No, that's great. Again, the facility is necessary to cure a significant gap in wireless services for Verizon Wireless. This has been documented by a radio frequency justification report that was submitted with the application, as well as with this particular application. There's been numerous public comments from members of the public and residents of the town of Mamaroneck surrounding the golf course, who have complained of a lack of wireless service in the areas surrounding the golf course. So there is a real need for this facility, and the application is approved by special permit pursuant to the town of Mamaroneck's zoning code, and we meet all of the requirements therein for approval. So we're hopefully here tonight to present the application to you and answer any questions you may have.
Can you talk a bit about the fence and the ground equipment that's going to be around the pine?
Sure. I'm going to pull up the actual site plans for this facility. I'm just sharing the screen right now. So the facility, again, is located in the center of the golf course, near an existing maintenance yard that the golf course uses. It's located over 300 feet from the property line. So the views of the actual compound and the fence aren't going to be visible, but it will include equipment at ground level. I believe we're proposing an 8-foot tall fence. Bob Burns, could you quickly explain just the layout of the fence and the compound area?
Sure. For the record, my name is Bob Burns. I'm a civil engineer with APT Engineering. Dave, if you go back to the concept or the compound plan, yeah, that's good. The compound itself is 43 by 72 feet. It will be a gravel area surrounded right now with a 8-foot high chain link fence. There'll be a 12-foot gate in the front. Inside the compound itself in the center will be the tower. And as far as ground equipment goes, initially our anchor tenant is Verizon, and they'll be putting in a concrete pad. I believe it's 10 by 12 foot concrete pad with equipment cabinets on it and a small generator. Part of that pad will have a canopy over it to shelter the 2 equipment cabinets. The generator itself will be open to the air. And in addition, right now we're proposing a second pad with 2 small propane tanks on it, which will fuel the 15 kW generator. We are looking into the possibility of bringing in natural gas from the street, but right now we haven't determined whether that's feasible or not. Outside the fence in the front is a meter backboard, which will have the electric meters for the carriers on it, small step down transformer, and a telco cabinet, a fiber cabinet. The compound is also sized for Verizon plus 3 future carriers. Those are 12 by 20 foot spaces, and a 10 by 10 foot space for future municipal equipment if they decide they want to put antennas on the tower.
And again, the applications for Verizon Wireless, but there's a known gap of service in the area, and we've already received a letter of interest from AT&T. So they've already sent a letter of interest stating that they will, if this application is approved, co-locate below Verizon Wireless and also provide their FCC licensed services to the area.
I think Bob Fletcher had a question that he put in the chat.
Yeah. My question was, will this tower enable a significant improvement in Verizon Wireless reception in the area of Manor Park in Larchmont?
I'm not exactly sure where Manor Park and Larchmont is, but I can hold, if you allow me, I can pull up the actual radio frequency justification report, and I can show you a map that shows where coverage will be.
Thank you. That would be helpful.
He's talking about an area that's in the southern part of the town.
Sure. So I'm showing a radio frequency justification report that was submitted with the application. So here it's showing areas that lack coverage. And then here shows areas of coverage where it was filled in. I believe I'm actually showing an older version report. I'm just going to pull up a more recent version of the report I have.
So I don't think that map goes far enough south, but
Yeah.
if you can see the tower from, like, if you can see the sound from the golf course. If you can see the tower, doesn't that mean that it would improve service?
Not necessarily. So if you're saying that we can't see, where's the area that's in question?
Just down off the bottom right-hand side of the page.
So over in
Past
this
where it
area?
says the word, past where it says the word Larchmont.
Right.
Okay,
Well,
so that's already receiving coverage from another facility. As you can see, this red pin right here is
Yeah.
a different Verizon facility. So it will work in conjunction with it, but this facility here, the intended coverage is not for below this area. That's why that area is not shown on this map.
Okay.
It'll work with Verizon's facilities, but that's not where the intended coverage is for this particular facility.
Thank you.
I have another question for you. How do you deal with wildlife issues? Like if a large bird decides to nest in the tower, how do you deal with that?
So we haven't experienced those issues in particular, but I have a member from Homeland Towers who can speak to if there's any maintenance issues. But we have from DEC on past applications received that there's no likely impacts as a result of these facilities. These facilities do not impact wildlife. But as if there was an actual nest that decided to be built on top of the facility, I'm sure our technicians would alert us and we would have a response to that. Klaus, if you could speak to that.
Sure. Klaus Wimmer with Homeland Towers. I'm the regional manager for Homeland Towers. And I have to admit, I've never come across this scenario. So I would think that we address it appropriately depending on what needed doing to either, to protect the bird, maybe move the nest or depends also where it would be.
And I think it also depends on the type of species of the bird, whether or not we would have to involve either a state or federal agency in conjunction with any relocation of the nest. But we will have, as part of the application to the planning board, we do a SHPO concurrence. So we are sending a copy of the application to U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services so we can have them provide a comment on the application. In past applications, Klaus has mentioned, this has not been an issue. We've not seen them have any adverse impact or impacts to wildlife.
I've seen other cell towers where they've nested in the towers and usually they're just left alone. Like we have one in the facility, one of the facilities, Verizon facilities on the map. We always have osprey nests there. And usually they're just left alone.
That might be the course of action. I guess it really depends on the type of the species of the bird and whether or not the nest is in danger of causing a fire or in danger of doing anything to the facility. As far as affecting the service that's being provided from the facility.
Mm-hmm. And there's no lighting proposed on the tower.
No, we have a determination. I can share the screen and show that. So yes, we have a determination from the FAA that says that there's no hazard to air navigation, which means that there's no requirement for a light on top of the facility.
And that would be the only reason you would put a light on it.
Correct. The only reason we would put a light on the facility if it would be required for FAA purposes. And because we're not required, there will not be a light on top of this facility.
Okay.
Is there any sort of noise emitted from this, from the generator, from the tower?
So the generator can emit noise, but we'll have a letter confirming the noise. Again, the facility is over 300 feet from the nearest property line, so it's unlikely that the generator would be heard any noise above ambient level at the property line. But we'll have a full report to generators. Again, Verizon hasn't chosen a particular generator because, as Bob, our engineer, has spoken to, we're looking to the possibility of using natural gas, as that was a request from the planning board.
I take it the generator is purely for backup in case of an electrical power failure?
Correct.
How I know I asked this from the planning board with my comments on the environmental assessment form, but how is the tower constructed? Is it is it just a tower that's mounted on a big concrete block, or is it something that goes into the ground like a telephone pole?
I'll leave that to you.
Yeah, so obviously it'll be designed, but the typical tower foundation in this area is what we call a buried mat and pier. So it's essentially a big hunk of concrete. Anywhere, depending on the size of the tower and the loading, could be 30 feet, but to maybe 35 foot square by maybe 2 to 2.5 feet thick, buried 6 feet in the ground. And then, I'm only conjecturing here because it hasn't been designed yet. And then an 8 foot diameter pier would come up from that mat and it would be shown 6 inches above the finished grade. So all you'd see from the surface is a round cylinder, sometimes they're square, that the tower itself will sit on. The foundation itself will be buried. So the combination of the concrete foundation with the rebar and the overburden on top of it is what keeps the tower up.
Do you know if there's a lot of rock in that location?
I don't, because we haven't done geotech yet. And if we run across rock, I mean, there's a few things we can do. The first one is we try and chip away at it if it's suitable. If there's a significant amount of it, we can pin the foundation to the rock if it's bedrock. But at this point, I don't know. Until we do a geotech investigation, we won't know that.
How long does it take to construct something like this? You know, I mean, I know you have to design it and everything. Like, when do you expect the project to be kind of complete and operational?
We usually average, we in our drawings, we say it takes about 12 weeks, but usually it happens a lot quicker than that. The tower itself will go, once the foundation is in, the tower itself will go up in a day.
And yes, that is correct. It's not 12 weeks or 9 weeks or
Right.
8 of constant construction. It happens in segments, really. They
Yes.
may take a week for the foundation, and then that settles, and then the tower gets set in another day. So it's not continuous.
Okay.
Is the tower itself brought to the site in one piece, or is that?
No, it's brought in multiple pieces, and they're put on, and then they sort of slide on top of each other like a sleeve, and they're brought in. I'm not sure offhand how big the pieces are, but they're brought in segments. And then at the end, they put the branches on.
Okay. I don't know. We don't have a quorum at the moment, but is there any way, this is all being taped, right? So we could have Doc Mason, whoever else take a look at this to ultimately give full approval of, right, along the way, after we debate a little bit, or?
I just got an email from Conan, so maybe Sarah, can you reach out to her and see if you can get her to just hop on just for the end of the meeting?
Yeah, no, from Baba and Sarah, I don't know what your thoughts are, or Liz. This is needed here, right? There's a lot of people without service in that area, and I think it's a benefit to the community personally.
Emergency services, they told us that emergency services would have be able to locate on the pole as well.
Right.
Correct. That was the municipal services space that Bob was showing on the equipment compound. That would be for if police, fire, EMS, or any other of the towns or the surrounding village or city of New Rochelle, if they had needs for emergency communication services, they could co-locate at this facility.
That's a huge benefit.
Yep.
And we also say that, emergency services are the wireless services, because a majority of 911 phone calls are made from cell phones now.
Yeah, and the area is not, it's already part of an area of disturbed or more not industrial, but it's it's a work area on the course. So it's not like you're ripping through and cutting up pristine tract of land there.
Correct, and we also have the benefit of using an existing access
Right,
drive.
yeah,
So
the access road's all built in there, ready to roll, and of course, whatever damages, it'll be fixed up.
exactly.
Hey, we got somebody else on the call with us now.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. It didn't show up on my calendar for some reason. So I completely forgot.
So we're just discussing, this is the cell tower over at Bonnie Briar between, I think, 17 and 13. But what, just to do just a quick recap, I think I'll hit most of the points. It's at the closest point to Weaver Street. It's about 300 feet from the property line. It's going to be monopine, not to look exactly like a tree, but to have it kind of blend a little bit through other. Whoop, did I lose everybody? Oh no, he's bringing
No,
back up.
I'm just helping you out so I can give her some visual representations of the monopine.
Yeah, so these guys put together this what it kind of might look like from a few of the viewpoints, and they did a balloon float to kind of get a very good visualization of how tall it will be, and that's it from right along Weaver Street right there through the trees. Right now it's Verizon, room for 3 other carriers, and also for local emergency services to attach to the tower. All right, anybody else want to chime in with the kind of the questions that were asked and answered?
This came to us before, right? Had this come to us before? Or at least we had talked about it before and wanting to make sure it didn't look like the one that was on the hutch.
The eyeliner?
Yeah.
There was another,
I'm sorry, Liz, go ahead.
sorry, there was earlier there was another, I don't know if it was the same company or another inquiry into putting a tower at Bonnie Briar. And I don't know if it was all of you, this group, or a different group, but it was probably about 3-4 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just more like an early proposal than actual concrete, this is what we want to do, this is what it'll look like with the full analysis that you guys have done.
Yeah, we don't know why it didn't go through them. Wasn't us.
Okay.
But yeah, as far as the Frankenpine on the hutch that everybody likes to mention when they hear monopine, that was a facility more than 25 years ago. So the technology for these stealth design monopines has greatly evolved since then. And the facility that we're proposing is much better than that particular facility.
It's much better in that it has more branches.
More branches, the style, the design of the branches, the texture is just in a better quality. And again, the Frankenpine on the hutch, a lot of people see it from the hutch when they drive underneath, and that really wasn't the visual impact that was looked at that particular time. It was more houses along the ridge line in New Rochelle and Eastchester, making sure that their far off distant views of the facility would be that of the green top rather than a regular monopole. So it does the job for them, but not everybody on the hutch really agrees with it.
Okay, I don't know, anybody opine? I think it's a great asset to the town personally.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I'm
agree.
very excited.
I would
No issues.
no issues, give approval, and yeah, was glad to hear everything, in all honesty.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bob, what are you thinking?
Yep, I'll support it.
Okay. Motion to find consistent.
So
Yeah.
moved.
Second,
I'll second.
there we go. Okay,
All right, I'll draft a letter saying that we find it consistent to the, I'll draft a letter to the planning board.
perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, when's this going in? When can I get better? When am I gonna get better service? I live like a few miles from, I drive by almost every day.
We got to make sure the planning board gives us that approval, and then we can get right on it.
Excellent. Well, I'll cross my fingers. Everybody around here has been, drive through the dead zone, like, the commercial, it's like literally that is the dead zone.
It's absolutely a needed site, and we're doing our best to get it in there.
Good, good.
I
Thank
know that
you.
the Sustainability Collaborative wrote a 17-page memo with a lot of concerns about it. So I don't know that it's going to go as fast as maybe some of us would like. Or some
Is
of
it
us.
possible to have a copy of that memo? I was not aware of that.
I think it's in the planning board public record.
Okay, I'll ask Francine for a copy.
It had to do with the radio. Was it a frequency thing? Or I haven't read it yet.
No, me neither.
Okay.
Well, again, thank you all for your time tonight.
You're welcome.
Thank you, and sorry about late joining in.
Don't run away yet, because we want to see if we can
Thank you.
minutes.
Approve the minutes. Yeah, thank you for that presentation.
Thanks, guys.
But
Thank
the
you.
tower guys can do it.
Good luck.
Thank you.
We got Klaus.
I think I can remove him. Bye, Klaus. Okay.
Elizabeth, how did you get the memo? Just,
I think Ralph sent it to me.
so it was in the planning board. I mean, it's a public document, right?
I don't know.
Oh, I made it public. No,
I mean, Ralph sent it to me, so I don't know if that, makes it a public document.
All right.
So now we have to look at the minutes, right? We have two people who were there. Sarah, you're muted.
I was here last month, but who else was here?
I was
I
also
think
here
Alan
last
was
month.
here.
Okay, so Conan and I can approve the minutes, right?
Yep.
Okay. I read through them. They seem fine to me. I don't know. Is there any, Conan, did you see any errors?
No, you can make a motion and I
Okay,
can
fine.
second.
Okay, I make a motion to approve minutes from last month's meeting.
And I second them.
Okay. Great.
There we go.
What do we have coming up? What do we have next month, Liz? Do we know yet?
I don't know yet. I had a thing from Larchmont, but I don't think it needs to go to CZMC. I think it's not in a flood zone. It's not near the coast. It's not near wetlands. So
Okay.
they sent it to me to kind of take a look at. I think because the planning board referred it to us, but I don't understand why they referred it to us. I think
Okay.
just trying to be consistent with, other projects being sent.
Okay.
So I just don't think, I think we might be able to just write a letter back saying that we don't think that this is, needs to be referred.
Okay.
Besides that, I don't know. We have a couple more tear downs, lots of tear downs,
Okay.
the trend. So we'll have more of those coming down the pike.
Okay.
But by far, this was the biggest thing that we had kind of going on.
Okay.
And hopefully we'll be back to in person. I would love that, but I don't know.
Yeah.
This
Do they have a date? Do they have a date for in person at all? Like a tentative?
No, I think it just depends on the governor and when we can redo that, when we can go back to in person. I mean, our next meeting is October, I think it's 26th.
Okay.
I think he extends it month to month, and he always extends it at just the last minute.
Okay.
Mhm.
Make sure to have it on October 6th. Yep, I got it.
I'm ready to meet in person again.
I'm
To all this is
happy to wait till I get a vaccine.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
appreciate that.
I
It's hard
know.
on the town board meetings because it's like 5 hours and it's a long time to be zooming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This isn't so bad, but
Yeah. I
At least
also
you don't
set
have to
a screen
mask.
up and I take all the materials and you can pop them up there and you can move stuff around pretty easily.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like one of my students now.
Okay, guys. Well,
Okay, well, enjoy your evening.
thank you.
October
Bye.
26th.
Good to see you all.
Yeah, be well,
we
stay
need
safe, guys.
Do we need to
Thank
motion to
you.
end? to adjourn? Do we need a motion to adjourn?
Meeting to adjourn or motion to adjourn?
Second.
So let it be written, so let it be done.
Oh, Alan missed a good one. Oh, well, next
Yeah.
month. We did a pretty good job, I think.
That's
I'll
great.
remember.
All right.
Okay.
Okay,
See you guys next
see ya.
week. Okay.
Safe.